Right, welcome everybody to our webinar on homeschooling high school. So Alberta Homeschooling Association does these webinars the third Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock on different topics. So 3 times a year we do just a homeschooling 101, and the rest of the time we do specialized topics per month. So April is high school month. So I'm going to run through a little bit about how high school works and then open it up to questions. I have a lot of slides. I have slides on how to do each high school course, but I think we're not going to have time to do all that. So if that comes up in your questions, and we'll look at that. Okay. So I just popped in here to say hi from France, although I'm not really from France. But I'm going to turn my video off because sometimes it's very distracting to me. So, okay. So this is me. I'm Judy Arnall. I am a certified Canadian Family Life Educator. I'm certified in the brain, story, and a whole bunch of programs. And my interest was in child development, and also my interest is in home education because that's what we did. Never thought I would home educate to high school. You know, you take it 1 year at a time. I have 5 kids, and I pulled them out of school about grade 2, grade 3, just because the system wasn't meeting their needs. And I thought, okay, well, they're definitely going back to high school. But I think we don't tend to know at that stage is just how capable our kids become, how smart they are. And by the time they get to high school, they're doing a lot of self-teaching, or they're doing a lot of learning on their own through maybe a course or two, maybe an online course, but they are doing most of the work. We're not doing the teaching. So my math ends at grade 8. There's no way I'm teaching high school math, chemistry, science, So they had to pretty well go through high school on their own, or with tutors or family friends or people that could help them. Khan Academy was so great. So that was our story. So 4 of my children have graduated with a high school diploma. 1 is finishing up right now, and 3 kids have graduated university. 1 kid is already second year university, and that's where we're at. I've written a bunch of books on parenting and child development, how to get a grip, how to solve parenting challenges without punishment, and I wrote a book on tips. I facilitated parenting groups for 23 years, so I put together all their tips of how to handle situations in the Attachment Parenting Tips book. We also have the Happy Homeschooling Handbook. It has a bit of high school information, but we couldn't stuff it all in. I mean, that's a whole other handbook that we are producing, but it's almost easier to talk about high school in a webinar format, just because there's so much information. And then the book, Unschooling to University, is how we did self-directed high school. And it's certainly doable in Alberta, and I hope to outline that tonight. Okay, I'm not going to go over much of this because you're probably already here, but let's just clarify that many homeschoolers, their children go back to school at grade 10 pretty well. A lot of them do. They go to a physical high school, or they go online. Now, as you can see here, these are 4 education choices in Alberta. 3 of them are school. So the private, the charter, the public, or the Catholic system all offer online courses, or teacher-directed or print-based, but those are all school choices. The only choice that is under parent or student control is home education. Okay, and it depends on what the child is registered in PASI, which is the Alberta Education Student Registration Funding software. So the only only registration where you or your child has control is 600 home education, 611, it's the yellow ones right here, okay? Or the 611 part of a shared responsibility. That's the only way you can do self-designed high school. Okay, let's look at the choices. So there's lots of reasons people choose home education, but in high school, it's really great that we have the flexibility of different options. Okay, so unlike grades 1 to 9, which is grade based, so say grade 6 has 1,400 outcomes over 6 subjects. So English, social, science, math, health, phys ed. Yes. High school is a bit different. High school is course-based. Okay, it's not a grade-based. It's shorter too, where you would have math from September to June in grade 6. In high school, it's only 4 months. Okay, sorry, it's 5 months. University is 4 months. Gotta get that straight. um, you can still fill out a home education notification form. So that's notifying that you or your student is in the driver's seat of their education. So yeah, like I said, grade 1 to 9 is by grade, grade 10 to 12 is by course. Now, children chase their courses where they can get them. So you can do maybe math as an online course, maybe English as a paper-based course, and maybe science as self-directed course. You have that option to mix and match. It's a la carte. It's really good. Now, if you're doing a self-directed high school program, you still have to fill out a notification form and make an education plan. But you also have to be a little more paperwork in course proposals if you are going for marks and credits, or your child is. Let's just say your child is. Okay, so what they have to do if they're going to get marks and credits under home education, they would have to meet the outcomes of the course. Now, the beauty about Alberta is their targets. Their targets. How you meet those targets depends on what your child is as a learner. So there's lots of ways. For example, our curriculum came in a little blue box called the Game Cube, and we were unschoolers. So my children still hit a lot of the grades 1 to 9 targets. They just did it through video games or other methods of doing it. Okay, so a high school diploma. Your first question was, is your child wanting a high school diploma or not? Most major universities across Canada, from McGill to UVic to Memorial to Waterloo, do not require a high school diploma for admissions. What they do require is at least the 4 core courses at grade 12 level and an option, and pretty decent marks, okay? So your child doesn't need to take COM or phys ed or CTS courses or other options if they absolutely know what program they want and they can stack up those 4 cores and an option for admissions, okay? When is a high school diploma useful? It's useful for jobs. It's used, a lot of employers ask for a diploma, and you can do a parent-directed high school diploma and say, yes, they have a diploma. You can get around that. It's also useful for certain colleges or really, really high demand programs may ask for it. But it depends. Like I said, most of the major universities do not ask for it. It's a way for the Alberta government to mark people who finish the grades 1 to 12 system. That's what it is. It's accountability. Okay, now high school. And like I said, there's 3 programs, again, in high school, same as grades 1 to 9. So there's traditional 100% parent-controlled home education. Then there is 100% school-controlled, and that's called distance education, distance learning, online, or a physical school called high school. It's also teacher-directed, paper-based resource, blended, all kinds of names. So anything that's school-directed is in red font here. Anything that's parent-directed is in green font, okay? And then you can have half and half. You can have shared responsibility, which is part parent and part school. Let's say your child wants to do math and English on self-directed part and the rest through an online school. They could do that too, okay? It's by course now instead of grade. So here's the options. So they could either do school, online, or physical classes, and they can get course outcomes met and get 100 credits and graduate with a diploma. Or they can do home education, and maybe they don't want credits. Fine, you know, they can complete the 12 years of home education under the home education outcomes. They won't get a diploma, but they'll be done and out of there. Or maybe they do want marks and credits for certain subjects. They can get those credits if your child presents a portfolio to a principal. They can get the marks and credits and graduate with the diploma or just the course grades. And a diploma can be awarded on all 3 programs. When you go to school board open houses, some of them say, no, you can't. You can't go home education and have your child get a diploma. Yes, they can. Absolutely. Section 6 allows for that under the home education regulations. Okay, so that was a little outdated here. Let's look at, I want to keep this simple. Okay, let's look at parent-directed or student-directed high school for marks and credits. This is a program you're not going to hear about too often, just because the schools don't get much funding for this, okay? So if your child is under 19 years of age, let's say they're under 19 as of September 1st, they do have to provide coursework for a mark. The parent provides the program, but doesn't necessarily have to teach it, which means you can hire tutors to teach instead of you. It's still under parent directed, but it's somebody else. Or you can go cheap and, you know, get Khan Academy to teach your kids. You can get a hold of materials, or you could outsource a course or two, depending on credits, to adult upgrading. If your child is over 19 years or has a diploma, they're considered an independent, mature student. They can challenge the diploma exams and they don't need to present coursework. And the exams count for 100% of the mark and credit. And then for the retroactive grades, they would just get credits with a P for pass for grade 10 and 11. Who supports parent-directed high school for marks and credits? The yes side are all those that will grant credits if a student presents a portfolio. The no side are school authorities that won't even look at it, just because of various reasons. But I'm happy to see the yes list is growing. Yay! We need more choice. This is what a DAR looks like. Now, a DAR is an official government record. It's called a detailed academic report. It lists all the subjects kids take, who's the school that issues the marks and credits, how many credits they've got, what the school year was, the term, the mark, what the school mark was, and the exam mark. Every child who reaches high school gets this, and it tells them how many credits they have as of what date. So this is the official government record. When they drop a course or fail a course, it's on here too. Now, this is the official government transcript. This is what gets presented to post-secondaries. You can see here it has the course year, what term. So, if it's a full year course or it's semester based, the school code, that's who's reporting the marks and credits, is that school. What the course code is, course name and level, course, I don't know what that is, how many credits were earned, what the school mark was, and what the diploma exam mark was, okay? And whether that was an honors mark for the actual final course mark. So the school mark and the department exam mark is combined for a final mark. This was back when diploma exams counted for 50%. So it was easy to calculate. Now it's 30%. So this is a government transcript. This is what most of the major universities across Canada will want. They will ask the school to deliver it directly, not the school, the government. So if your child applies for McGill, McGill will pull his transcript from the government without going through your hands, okay? So a child who is age 20 on September 1st is no longer funded, okay? Funding only goes up to age 20. So they can take any grade 12 class, but generally they have to pay post-secondary fees of $600 per course. So we tend to advise parents to get your students the credits they want before age 20 and before it costs a lot of money. What adults can do though is they can get the key, they can study the textbook, buy a textbook off of Amazon, study it, study the key, and then write the diploma exam. So they don't have to pay $600 for a course. They can self-study, pay $26, and the mark stands for 100%, that exam. So I know finances are a barrier for young adults that have dropped out of school and haven't got the courses they wanted, but they can. One thing to keep in mind is that Bio 30 is a standalone course. Kids can take that, understand most of it without taking Bio 20 or Science 10. Same with English, same with social, standalone courses. When they write the diploma exams, they only write on the grade 12 course. So they can study the key, grade 12, and write the exam. Now, chemistry, math, physics, those kind of build, unless you have a super, super bright kid who's keen on that and studies it for fun, they might need to take the grade 11 course. And for math, they might need to take the grade 10 course. So homeschoolers need flexibility. We want to do the courses they need and obtain credits for ones they don't need, right? So we're not looking for shortcuts. We're looking for turning our kids' passions into marks and credits. So for example, my daughter is a writer. She's written all these books by the time she was 16. She doesn't need to take an English 30 course. She could probably teach an English 30 course. So we did this on the self-directed side. She did 4 essays and we called it a course mark, okay? She had to take a course mark because she was under 19. She did 84% on her diploma exam. So obviously she didn't need to take English 30. In fact, as an unschooler, she has never taken an English course in her life until she went to university. So she's self-taught. She had a passion for it. She knew a lot of it, knew pretty well everything in the course. Why make her take the course when it would just be busy work? Okay, so homeschoolers do not want special privileges or shortcuts, but we want recognition for the learning that takes place in a home and not just within a 125-hour shell of a course. Okay, so let us look. Parent-directed methods and resources. Where do they get resources to take these courses? Well, there's lots of workbooks. There's a key workbooks at the library. There's websites like Khan Academy. There's movies, which are really good for social studies and English, documentaries. There's online courses, not just through Alberta Education, but through anywhere in the world, because home educators are borderless. We can take anything, anywhere, okay? There's lots of ways to get, understand courses. Now, a lot of parents too, they get a group together and get a little small class. Some of us have hired a teacher and split the cost to teach the course. So we report it to our school authorities. They report the marks and credits. So that's one way. If you don't want your kids to go to high school, you can get your own class together. In fact, we did this for social studies and English, where we felt it was beneficial to get 10 kids together, meet once a week at the library rooms, and discuss. We had movie discussions, we had text discussions, we had book discussions, and it was great. It was an activity that kids look forward to, seeing their friends, but also some intellectual stimulation, because it's really hard to get that sometimes when it's just your student at home. You could also do it over the internet now. Okay, so how do you assess that? The parent mark is usually 70%. A lot of school authorities will ask the student to write an exam under exam conditions for 30% of the mark. So what does the school authority looks at? They look at the portfolio work, journal records, what your observation notes are, descriptive reports of what the child has learned, any individual projects or demonstrations, summary of skills learned, maybe some quizzes, exams, chapter tests, those kinds of things. There has to be evidence of learning in order to provide a mark. So for example, here's our food science. So evidence of learning can be photographs, lists, projects, essay reflections, maybe a PowerPoint presentation, maybe even a video or an audio file. So here we did a log for foods. We logged the time of what date we made what, and we logged it by category. So for example, under cake and pastry, foods 2040, this is what we made. And we included pictures. It helps if your child's in the picture. Don't just take pictures of butter chicken off the internet. Okay, so under parent directed, we also did course bookends. So we made a proposal for each course. So for example, this was English 30. And once you do these, you can use them for English 10, English 20, English 30, because it's all the same thing, just a different novel. Same with social studies, just a different textbook, but same essays, because it's building skills. Same with art, same with food, same with phys ed. Pretty well the same thing, different textbooks. So for example, English 30, we said the student will read 8 pieces of poetry, 3 short stories, 6 pieces of nonfiction, attend a live play, keep a personal journal, watch a variety of movies, read 2 novels, although, you know, in school they just read 1, produce a text analysis worksheet, do 1 personal response essay and 1 critical analysis essay, and write 1 poem. We said we'd read Shakespeare, but we actually ended up not doing that because we didn't like Shakespeare. And then we put down the resources of what we needed to accomplish this. And this can be on your reimbursement sheet. If it's on here, you can be reimbursed for it. And then at the end of the course, so then we go away, we do our 125 hours. The kids try and produce evidence of all these things. And then we meet up with our facilitator, and then we record what we did, and we give samples of what they did, and that's it. And then the facilitator reports, usually keeps the samples on a digital file and then reports it to the government transcript. Okay, why would you want to go parent directed? A lot of parents are not confident. I wasn't. The first year in high school, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had a school authority and a facilitator who would guide me on everything. And this was wonderful. You need someone to hold your hand the first year because you have no idea what constitutes an art class, right? So your school authority should really help you with that of what they need. And there is some variation between school authorities. I know one school authority that wants 2 essays for social studies and one school authority that wants 4 essays for social studies. So ask around. Parent-directed is so much more flexible. If your child's writing an exam for math and their batteries run out of their graphing calculator, you know what? They're not penalized. If your student doesn't like discussions, they're not penalized. They can show evidence of learning another way. It's your flexibility. If they dislike labs, they can do it another way. If they don't like Shakespeare, they can do it another way. If they prefer exams over written work, they can do it another way. There's lots of flexibility. School directed is not personalized. A lot of the requirements are set in stone, and there's a lot of them. For example, Phys Ed 10 online through a school was 50 hours of writing assignments and only 75 hours of activity. Whereas parent directed, it was 2 hours of writing activity, just the course reflection, and 123 hours of physical activity. Huge difference. Why the difference? Because the school directed online, they don't see the kids. So their only evidence or trust of learning is by written output. And to me, phys ed should not have 50 hours of written output. Okay, so diploma exams, necessary if kids want marks and credits at the grade 12 core courses. Yes, but that's good. You know, in Alberta, we got this great system where kids can prove their competency, prove their learnings by writing diploma exams. A lot of provinces don't have that. How does high school work? Each course credit, so far, before they do curriculum change, each course is worth 1 to 5 credits. So a 1 credit course, for example, foods, is 25 hours of learning, instructional hours. So if you're in the kitchen and you're instructing your child how to clean up in foods, that is instruction, that's counted. So for a 5 credit course, it should take 125 hours. Works out to about 16 to 20 weeks if you're on a semester. So you can get through September to about September to December, you could get through 1 semester course. Each grade takes about 35 credits, and it takes 100 credits for a high school diploma. You can pull these off of any Alberta education website or your school authority website of what's required if your child wants a high school diploma. They have to take English and social to grade 12. They have to take 10 credits in math, 10 credits in science. They have to take physical education. They do not have to take a CPR course. I read the outcomes. They just have to know why CPR is important. And they have to take COM for 3 credits, okay? The rest can be filled out with special projects or more phys ed, more food studies, CTS courses, whatever, or maybe math and science at grade 12 level. Okay, how it works is if the course is -1, that is the academic stream, which most universities want. The bare minimum for university is English 30-1. Colleges will accept -2, but universities will not accept English 30-2. -2 can be appropriate for colleges and tech schools. -3 is more for trades and work, okay? Except for science, they're kind of numbered a bit different. Grade 10 is usually a 10 level course. Grade 11 is in the 20s. Grade 12 is the 30 levels, okay? So these are all, they don't have the -2, -1 stream. They are just grades How long does it take? High school takes about 1.5 to 3 hours a day, depending on what your child's taking. Some people match up science and social because social is heavy on writing, science is more math. Those two match up nice. And then winter, they pair up English, which is heavy on writing, and math, which is more mathy. So if you do English and social together, that's a lot of writing. And then they do 2 options, and that can give them about 35 credits per year. Okay. Diploma exams, you can write January, April, June, August, and November. Yes. Now, if your child is under 19, they still need a course mark. But like I said, depending if they're very strong in a course, they can do a little bit and get that course mark. And then it is average 70% and 30% for a final mark. If they're over 19, the government will take 100% of the final diploma exam mark or a combination of the course exam mark if it's higher. Okay, most post-secondaries, you need 4 cores and an option, or you can apply as a mature student over 21. And what courses are needed depends on the program. So you should check that out, what you need. Most applications for post-secondary you apply online. So they don't care how much volunteer work your child does, community service, none of that. Those are more for scholarships, okay? If you're gonna apply with home education, so not marks and credits, you have to go through a special admission process for post-secondaries, as you can see here. Okay, upgrading. After 18 years, a lot of kids can go to adult upgrading schools to get courses. If they're high school coded courses, they're eligible for scholarships. If they take high school courses at the post-secondary, they're not eligible for scholarships. Okay. All right. Where do you get curriculum? You can purchase any course materials through ADLC or online. You have to go through your board to get those. Okay. Now, if your child is taking an online course through a school authority, that is school. That is not parent-directed or student-directed at all. That is just like school. Okay. I kind of talked about that. Okay, so how do you begin parent-directed? You register in traditional home education program. So you notify your school authority, you fill out the notification form, and then you look at Alberta education outcomes for the courses. Then you make the bookends. By September 30th, you have to file those, and then your child does the course, and then you provide a summary at the end of the 4 or 5 months, and then you get a mark and credit and move on to the next course. Pretty easy. Yeah. Okay, I found the first year kids still need adult support. They need help for planning for regular study. They need accountability. You need to check in regularly to see that they're on track, because and this is what I did. I put all their course output, like proof they've done anything, in these little course, what do you call these? Duotang thingies. Yeah. So I had one per course. There's Phys Ed 30. So in there were pictures and his log, his course proposals. It was nice to hand over, but now most school authorities want it digitally. Okay. These are your best buddies. The key, you can get these free through the library through Solaro, SOLARO. These tell you what kids need to know for the course. If you combine this with the chemistry Nelson textbook, on the Alberta Homeschooling website, there's a list of textbooks that Alberta Education uses for each course. If kids are workbook minded, they can buy the SNAP workbooks, although these are heavy work. I would suggest the Key, which covers the main course points. These are so aligned to Alberta education and the diploma exams. Okay. We're running out of time. Gosh, the time goes by. So I'm going to just run through real fast. These are the English textbooks. The novels, the short stories, and films for grades 4 to 12. Suggested ones are here. Again, they're on Alberta Homeschooling website under high school. But you can use a lot. You can pretty well use any resource you think is a grade 12, grade 10 level. Social studies. These are the Alberta Education textbooks. This is -1. This is -2. They're the same content, only this is easier to read. So keep that in mind. Math. The more academic math, if your child's going into a STEM career, this is a common math for both -1, -2. This is more academic math. This is more applied math. Okay, so if your child's going into arts or humanities, that might be more appropriate for them. And here's the stream. You can find these on Alberta Education website too. Science 10 is a common science. There's also Science 14 too, which is same topics but easier to understand. This gives kids a little taste of everything: bio, physics, chemistry, and earth science, because by science grade 11, they have to pick one of these to go into. So chemistry 2030, topics build. Biology 2030, topics are independent. So half this book is bio 20, half is bio 30. So we use these in combination. We use this key and the chemistry textbook. And again, for chemistry, it's half. First half is grade 11, second half is grade 12. And we would work through the review questions, we'd work through the unit exams, we do one final exam, one diploma exam, and we just put all our work in a notebook and give it to our facilitator. So as you can see, students have to be somewhat self-directed if you want to go parent-directed. They have to do the work, not you, but you have to help them organize it. Okay, physics, same thing too. Okay, CALM. CALM was really easy to do parent-directed. We did here's what we did. The kids read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. They did a resume. They did a Myers-Briggs online profile. We didn't pay for it. We just pulled it off the internet somewhere. They did a career profile. You can get those through the government. We went to career fairs. We did budgets. We did some interpersonal communication skills. And that was CALM. Okay, now, if the kids are stuck and you can't help, like me and math, you can hire a tutor. You can host a peer-to-peer study group, tap the friendship and the ability to, socialize, to have those. There are tons of online videos. If you need support through math, science, there's Khan Academy. If you need support for English and social, there's Spark Notes. Okay, how do you acquire textbooks? You can rent them from ADLC, beg, borrow, or steal. No, beg or borrow from your school authority, buy them used off Amazon, and they are pricey, but you can always sell them, pretty well. If you want to use course modules, you're not too sure what you're doing, you want to teach your child, they're not very good self-directed, you can get lots of resources here. If you Google Alberta and Science 10, there are teachers that have put these things up on the internet for public use, so you can use them. And you can find a lot of textbooks that way too. You can go to Learn Alberta. And if you want to know more course outlines for each course, please email me. I'm at jarnall@shaw.ca. Okay, here's where all the Alberta education outcomes are per course. This is an example of photos we took. So my daughter would make something, we put the food number it would apply under, what it was, and the date. And it was use products. Okay, so lots and lots of evidence. Okay, That's about it. We're kind of running out of time, and I want to open it up for questions. So anybody has any questions? Oh, wait a minute. Can I just cover this? Options. You can do CTS courses. You can do phys ed at a grade 11 and 12 level. Keep going. You can do art. You can do French. You can do, this is wrong. RAP now has to be under shared responsibility. It has to be school controlled because they have to do a site visit and stuff. So you can't do that under home ed anymore. Here's food studies. Here are photographs, right? They want to see the child in the photograph. Got to do that. Here's our phys ed assessment photos. We did work experience, volunteering. Can't do that anymore though. Special projects you can do. That's fabulous. You can get 15 credits there for your child under doing something that they would love to do, like build a gaming computer and learn to code. So we did these things. It was a great way to turn their passions into credits. And we just did photographs here. There's art. We did a lot of examples of art. My daughter built a costume for Comic Fest and that. Now, school-directed options. You can do online classes or paper-based, but pretty well things are written in stone. So I'm not going to cover that much. Okay, do we have any questions? Let's see. Anybody have questions? Okay, the acronym APS. What does that stand for? That stands for the Alberta Programs of Study. So that is the outcomes that the government sets forth for each course. So there are English 30, I think there's, oh gosh, I haven't counted them. There's like 100 outcomes. Now the thing to keep in mind is a lot of the outcomes overlap for courses. Like there's an outcome for English on learns to work in teams. Well, that same outcome is in social studies and science. And once your child learns to work in a team, you could check that off into every course. Okay, so don't let that worry. A lot of it is easy to check off. I'm just going to show you here. This is when children go to post-secondary, they apply online and all they do is plunk in the course name, the course number, and their mark. And it automatically pulls it up depending on what province you're at. So if they're applying from Ontario, I think it's called Bio 30 in Ontario too. So Bio 30 will go into the field where the course is. So there's not a lot of room. For example, yeah, here. So you can see Bio 30. So when kids apply, they put all their courses, all their marks into Apply Alberta. And then all the post-secondaries in Alberta pull from that website to see if your child's going to be admitted. If they're applying for an out-of-province university, they will get the transcript. Okay, so this is only within Alberta. Yeah. Some colleges accept a parent transcript or a parent diploma, but not the major universities across Canada. They still want the government diploma. Okay. Alrighty. Any other questions? I thought we'd have a whole range of questions here. Anybody? We have 8 minutes left. The other thing to keep in mind is the course progressions are what teachers professionally suggest for your child, but you as a parent can always override those. Most parents don't know that, but if your child, for example, my son, they put him in math 14. And I said, no, I think he can handle applied math. So applied math 10. So I insisted they put him in applied math 10. So he went into that, and then he took applied math 20. And then he wanted to go into a STEM career, and he needed pure math. They called it pure math at that time, which is the -1. So he had to take a bridging to pure math course, but he did it. He got his grade 12 in pure math, and he went on to a STEM career. But nobody can tell you what to put your kids in. They can make suggestions, but you make the ultimate decision. And your child does too, okay? Just so you know that. Okay, anybody else have questions? I'm really passionate about self-directed education, and I think the more kids can do this, the more we're going to see less high school dropouts, because it's so doable for children to, you know, jump through a few hoops, but also to make it more meaningful for them, right? If my daughter loves Shakespeare, she would do every essay on Shakespeare, and yet my sons didn't like Shakespeare at all. So if we have that ability to customize courses to these kids, I think it's great that parents know they can do that, and that opportunity is available. So I'm passionate about getting this information out there. Okay, well, I'm going to close it off. Thank you for coming and spending your evening, and I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. So thank you, and maybe we'll see you next month. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.